Minnesota birds may be at an increased risk of death following a decision by the Department of Interior. The agency is rolling back regulations for U.S. power companies in the Migratory Bird Treaty Act that protects flocks from flying into power lines. KIMT News 3's Evan Berg is joining us live from Silver Lake Park in Rochester with how the Zumbro Valley Audubon Society is responding. Hey, Evan.
Hi, Cammie. The Audubon Society says we have a lot of birds here in Minnesota that pass through the Great Lakes and down to the Gulf of Mexico during their migration seasons, including loons, larks, and great blue herons. With the rollback of these regulations, they're worried there could be less common sense practices from energy companies trying to keep them safe when they're passing through their sites on those journeys. To do that, many oil and gas companies have in the past done things like flagging high-voltage power lines at power plants and covering up waste pits at drilling sites to make these sites less of a hazard for birds moving through the area. The Audubon Society says in the event of disasters on the scale of the Deepwater Horizon spill from 2010, members are worried about how much the U.S. government would be able to enforce consequences like $15,000 per bird or 6 months of prison time on an offending company.
Loons nest here in the upper Midwest, but then they go to Lake Michigan to feed and get ready to migrate all the way to the Gulf Coast. And in the Gulf Coast, where there's a lot of oil and gas drilling, they're right there with that.
The rollback is part of a series of suspended policies at the Department of Interior from the Biden administration that began this February. Whether or not the rollback is permanent will depend on an internal review. Live in Rochester, Evan Berg, KIMT News 3.
All right. Thank you so much for looking into this, Evan. And it does look like a nice day out there at the lake. The Zumbro Valley Audubon Society says the U.S. government has been flip-flopping enforcement policies related to this issue for nearly 5 decades.